Hello gamers, Matthew here from Grey Army Gaming in lovely southern Sweden. For today's video, we have something a little bit different and something extremely exciting. I've been given the amazing opportunity of jumping into an ongoing experiment. It is the solo RPG round robin. Now this was initially started up by Man Alone over on his YouTube channel, in which he gave us a character, he gave us a setting and started the narrative off, and then he passed the torch to a host of other extremely talented solo role players who have developed the narrative in quite interesting and exciting ways. And now today we have come to episode 9. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, there is a link below where you can go and click on that and watch those episodes. And in addition, I made a short video where I summarize the narrative up to this point. You can watch that to catch yourself up and get up to speed. As I understand it, the purpose of this series, one of the purposes of this series, is to show different methods that we use as solo role players and to show for beginners how easy it is to jump into the solo role-playing hobby. With that in mind, what I'd like to do today is to employ and use a homebrew system I've come up with using just Magic the Gathering cards, nothing else. If you're like me, you probably have about 1 billion of these cards at home. And if you don't have 1 billion of them, your neighbor probably has about 5 billion of them. It's extremely easy to pick these up. And all you're going to need for this game is Magic the Gathering cards. I made a video previously where I walked through these rules. In addition to that, I've also created a rules summary, a rules sheet that you can go ahead and click on the link below and download if you'd like to get a better sense of how these rules are working. As we play the game today, I don't want to focus too much on the rules to bog down the narrative, but I'll explain some of the mechanics as we go. An important thing we need to do, however, as we begin our game is to transition our character, Stilton Tarwater, over to this system. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make Stilton an advanced character, which means that he will have a +3 bonus, he will have 30 hit points, and he will have 2 redraws. And I'll explain more what that means as we get to that. So we have Stilton Tarwater, an advanced character. I don't think there's a whole lot more I need to say. Hopefully the system will be self-explanatory as we go through it. I should mention, however, that this session is going to be entirely improvised in the moment. We're going to follow the cards. We're going to follow the narrative. I have no idea where this is going to go, but that is part of the terror and the joy of solo role-playing, the improvisation of it all. So hopefully this will help push the story along so that the next person will be able to pick it up and to have fun with it. Well, with all of that said, I think it is time for us to dive into episode 9 of the Adventures of Stilton Tarwater. The lone soldier standing in front of the cave stares out into the darkness, his torch barely illuminating any of the shadows. And off in the trees, we hear the voice of a small halfling, nearly sobbing in despair. That's where they took my brother, and that's where they took the herbalist. We have to do something. Almost instinctually, our hero Stilton Tarwater puts his arm around the halfling to try to comfort him. We have to do something, and we have to do it now. The halfling stands up as if to charge out of the woods towards the soldier. Stilton grabs him and pushes him back down. What are you doing? You fool! Do you think we can actually charge out so easily and beat the soldier? We must have a plan. Get a hold of yourself. He pushes him back down. At this point, tears begin to well up in the eyes of the halfling. Stilton stops and thinks for a second. He looks down at the belt of the halfling and he sees a small tin cup around his belt. And he immediately gets an idea. He pulls off his own pack, sets it down, and pulls out a bottle of ale. He always has ale with him on his journeys. You never know when you're going to need a good ale. He turns to the halfling. Give me your cup. The halfling takes a cup off of his waist and passes it up to Stilton. Stilton grabs the cup, takes the flask, and pours the ale into the mug and gives it back to him. And he says to the halfling, "I have an idea. Can you make some noise?" Halfling looks up at this point, something of a smile coming across his face as he understands the idea that Stilton has. "Can I make some noise? Why, it's my specialty," he says. "Very well. You wait here. I will hide myself in the bushes. And when we draw that soldier out, I will attack." Stilton takes a few steps off to the side. He goes and hides himself behind a thick brush, kneeling down. And at this point, he reaches down into his own pouch, his leather pouch on his hip, and pulls out a small vial, a small bottle. And he pulls the cork off the top. Boop! It's the raven's blood scourge that he found in the house of the herbalist. And he immediately downs the whole potion with one big gulp. And as he does this, he feels a sense of warmth coming across him. And it's almost as if there's a new, fresh layer of snow that has fallen around him, dampening all of the sounds. At this point, Stilton cannot be smelled. He cannot be heard. He has gone stealth. He crouches down, grasping his axe ever so tightly. And then he gets an idea. He doesn't want to kill this soldier. It's maybe more important that they keep him alive. So he pushes the axe back around his belt and gets ready. After a couple of minutes, he hears a sound coming from the woods off to the right. "Well, I'm a happy boy and I've got my good ale. I'm sitting here with my friends and drinking from a pail." And immediately when this noise, this song bursts out from the woods, the soldier snaps his head around. "Who is it? Who goes there? Identify yourself!" Now the question that we want to ask at this point is, will the soldier charge out towards the sound? Or will he remain at his post? The question is, does the soldier leave his post? Let's take 2 cards and consult our oracle. Our first card is a 1 and a 3, so that is a 4. That answer is yes. It's not a strong yes, so he's not going to charge out, but he's going to cautiously begin to walk out. He pulls his sword out of its holster, holding up the torch, and begins slowly to walk towards the noise. "We dance and play all night and day, we have the best of times." The song just continues blazing out, and eventually the soldier gets close enough that he's able to poke his head through the foliage, lifting up his torch. And there he sees the halfling, and he shouts at him, "You there! Stop your singing! What are you doing in these woods?" And the halfling snaps his head up. "Why, I'm just out for a little walk. It is such a beautiful evening tonight." And at that point, Stilton charges out with his stealthiness from the potion, charges out and jumps behind the soldier. The question we have now is that, is Stilton able to restrain him by putting him into something of a bear hug? So let's go ahead and do a strength check for him. Let's take 3 cards. Look at the mana cost. There is 2, 3, plus 4. That would be 7, plus his 3. So that's a total of 10. The soldier now will have 3, 5, 6, plus 1 would be 7. So no, the soldier is unable to pull out of this. Stilton immediately grabs him, slams him to the ground in this massive bear hug, and the Gruth, the halfling, pulls out a blade and jumps on top of the soldier, holding the blade right down by his neck. And he says to him, "The song's over. If you move, I slash your throat." And the soldier at this point collapses. You see all of the energy come out of his body as he realizes now that he is captive, that he has been jumped by these 2. Stilton, putting his arms around him, squeeze even tighter. And Stilton says, "All right, now, we got some questions for you, and I would recommend that you're honest with us." The soldier, at this point, shaking now, his strong voice now weakened. He says, "If I answer your questions, will you let me live?" Stilton says, "If you don't answer our questions, you will surely die." So the question is now, how honest is this soldier going to be? Is he going to give some straightforward answers? Let's go ahead and bring this to the oracle. And let's give advantage on this because this soldier is extremely scared at this point. So let's draw 2 cards. There is a 3, 4, 5. So that would be initially a no, but we have advantage. Let's draw our second card again. So 5 no's. The answer is no. The soldier is not going to give straight up answers at first. So Stilton still holding this guy extremely tight. Gruth comes with the blade and puts it right next to his throat. And Gruth says to him, "What are they doing down there? Please give us some answers quickly, or the blood is going to flow from your throat." And the soldier now, not giving straight up answers, he says, "Leonidas, he's digging for gold. He's digging for gold. I swear to you, he's digging for gold. We're just trying to get some gold, and then we'll be out of the town." Stilton, knowing that this is not the truth, and also Gruth, knowing this is not the truth, grabs and squeezes him even tighter at this point. The soldier feels the weight around him, the squeeze around him, and Gruth takes the blade now and shoves the edge up into the guy's throat, so it's beginning to draw blood. "Tell us the truth. We know it's not gold." So the question at this point, I think with that extra push now, the soldier will be honest with them. And the soldier says, "Okay, stop, please let me live. Please let me live. Please let me live. Okay. The truth is this. Leonidas is dying. Leonidas is dying. You may have seen that his clothes and his skin are rotting away. He's been cursed. He's been cursed by a powerful necromantic spell, and he is dying. But Leonidas knows that there is a temple underneath this town. A temple underneath this town, and he knows that if he sacrifices a pure innocent being, that blood will reverse the spell. And at this point, you see Gruth's eyes grow large because he realizes now that his brother, Triunian, is most likely the one that is going to be sacrificed. And he pushes the blade closer again to the soldier's neck. "Is it my brother you're talking about?" "I don't know," says the soldier. I don't know what your brother, the halfling, I don't know what the herbalist, I don't know their purposes. All I know is that Leonidas is looking for a temple. There's an altar down there that he's going to make a sacrifice on. That is all I know. No other information do I have. We've been told to tell a story about gold so that people won't ask questions, but that's all I know. Please let me live. Please let me live. At this point, Stilton, grabbing even harder, squeezing even harder, looks over to the halfling, and he says to him, "Do we kill him, or do we let him live?" And at this point, Stilton hears the voice of the farmer's girl, Malexia. Malexia the Merciful. He hears her voice in the back of his head. "We will never win this fight with violence. It is mercy that will be our way forward." And he immediately remembers the scene where Malexia gave mercy to one of the shadow folk. Gruth looks back at Stilton and he says, "It's your call. I cannot decide." So the question we have now is for Stilton, does he have mercy? Let's take 2 cards. We'll just take a random 50-50. But here's the thing. We will add advantage to this, which means if we get a no, we will draw 1 more card. Odd will be no, even will be yes. Does he have mercy? And we drew a 2. So the answer is yes. Stilton, still holding the soldier tightly, says, "We will have mercy. Go ahead and do it." And so immediately, Gruth turns the blade around and smacks the soldier on the head, knocking him unconscious. Immediately, the body goes limp, and Stilton lets him go. Gruth stands up, re-sheathes his small blade. The soldier lying there. Immediately, they get to work, and they have an idea, in fact. They tie up the soldier's hands and legs. They gag him as well. But then Stilton lays his cloak upon him. They pull out some more of the bottles of ale that Stilton has, and he pours the bottles out and places the bottles on top of the cloak, making it look as if the soldier has become inebriated out in the woods and has become unconscious. Stilton now turns back and looks at the cave, and he says to Gruth, "Gruth, go now.
You need to go and gather together the forces. Head out into the woods. Get Crockett. Go to Broderick, the farmer. Get him. Go to Jamie, the undertaker. Gather them together. Bring them here. Take care of this body. And then follow me into the cave. There's something that is not good at work here, and we need to gather together now to do that.
You can see in Gruth's face that he doesn't want to leave. He wants to go into the cave. But knowing the power of Stilton, knowing the authority that Stilton has, he bows his head and says, "Very well, master. I will do as you say." And with that, Stilton Tarwater begins to walk towards the cave. Now the question I have is, does Gruth actually do what Stilton says? Or does he follow Stilton into the cave? So let's go back to our oracle now and pull 2 cards. And I would say let's favor this in the idea it is very likely that Gruth will follow him. So let's go ahead and take 2 cards. There is a 1 and there is a 2, so that would be a 3. So that's a weak no. It's a weak no. So let's throw out that second card and put our next one in. Okay, 3, 4. So does he follow Gruth into the cave? I think was the question that we asked. And the answer there is yes. Does he follow Stilton, into the cave? And the answer there is yes. So he does not go to gather together the other people of the village. He follows instead behind into the cave in the shadow. As Stilton comes closer now, his dwarven eyes seeing through the darkness, he takes a step into the cave, and immediately he is hit by this feeling of warm air. And at this point, I want now to draw some cards for our narrative beat. We'll draw 5 cards and pick out one that looks the most interesting. So here we go. Oh, I like this. Death, stroke here, giant strength, tremor. Oh, I like this. Okay, we're going to take tremor, the tremor card. So immediately when Stilton walks through the entrance of the cave, he can feel this warm air that is coming and meeting him in the face. And as he walks along the ground, suddenly he feels this massive tremor in his feet. It's something like an earthquake, and he can hear the ground cracking. As he looks down below, he sees something of a fiery light in the distance from lava or a large room down below. As the ground begins to shake, something incredible is happening, and immediately he begins to lose his balance, falling down to one knee. Behind him now, ever so quietly and carefully, comes Gruth into the cave, also shaking back and forth from this tremor. The tremor subsides, and Stilton Tarwater stands up on his feet. He begins to walk into the cave. Now, as these two enter the cave, I have a final question that we will ask as our timer runs out. Does Leonidas eventually ride up behind them and join them in the cave without them knowing? Let's draw 2 cards, and the answer here will be a 3, a 6. So the answer is a strong yes. A strong yes. Leonidas is coming into the cave behind him, following them down into the darkness with the lava, the fire, and the constant tremors. And that is where we will end this session and pass it on to the next role player.